Hi guys, welcome back to the whatever name of this show it is.
It's the Chris and Spikey show with Spike and Kryssi.
I can't say that correctly, so I don't even try. I mess it up every time. It's just a weird, it just rolls off the tongue weird. So, but yeah, welcome back. We have an awesome guest for you tonight. Ross Ulbrichts' mother, Lynn Ulbricht. She is a rock star. We're going to talk to her. But before we get there, Spike, you are famous now. Is it because of my memes?
I have no evidence that it's not because of your memes, but I don't want to encourage you. So I'm not going to say yes. I'm going to say what I just said.
All right. Well, just to let you know, I already feel encouraged with every sad react.
I know. It doesn't matter what I do at this point. You have decided you're doing the memes moving forward, and there's really nothing I can do about that. I've apparently become a regular on Kennedy, and going to be on some other national stuff coming up soon. And it's weird getting more attention now than either I or Joe got during the actual campaign. And it's sort of a bittersweet thing because it's like, hey guys, thanks for this attention. Would have been great to talk with you 3 months ago or 4 months ago. So, but I mean, we need attention. We need to be able to get in front of people. We need to share the message of liberty. So I'm happy, but it is an interesting thing that, national media would not talk to us, with the exception of Kennedy. I will say Kennedy had Joe on a couple times, but even that, we're on there, or I'm on there more now. So it's an interesting thing, but we'll take it for whatever we can get.
Do you remember after we talked about the Yal stuff? I think it was a couple weeks ago. I said yes. You should take his spot, or Cliff Maloney's spot on Kennedy. So I just want to let you know that I willed that into the universe with my awesome willing in the universe.
So that's also, so the memes got me there, and then your wish, you brought from the supernatural into the natural, created that as well. So this is really all you. It has very little to do with me.
Yes, every single accomplishment you have is
in my
because
life.
Kryssi Wickers did it. I'm so glad that you admit that. I appreciate that. I've been telling everyone that it's all me and they don't believe me. So I'm glad that you. No, but for real, I'm a puppet. I'm basically a puppet and like a marionette,
a Jewish marionette, and you're what was that guy's name? Geppetto.
Oh,
Jeff
Dunham has puppets.
That's true. No, you're right. No, I was thinking Geppetto, but we'll go with Jeff Dunham.
Okay, with Pinocchio. Okay, sorry, boomer. So no, but for real though, we are so proud of you. You speaking for us. I'm so glad that you're the one speaking for us. I mean, everyone else that's tried sucked. So it's really nice to see you on there and to know that like a year ago, like a year and a half ago, it was like this never would have been on our minds. And somehow we memed you to the fucking national television.
I'm the original GameStop.
Yeah, you are the original GameStop. We pumped you. Hopefully we don't dump you, but we pumped you.
I'm the Dogecoin of politicians.
Okay, I'm gonna post that. You are the Dogecoin of politicians.
I'm the Dogecoin of politicians.
I do want to announce to everyone that since these memes have gotten him so far, after the show, I will be launching a crowdfund campaign to buy billboards around the state where I can put Spike's memes on billboards and people can drive by and witness what we've all got to witness.
With no context at all. Not like there's no call to action on them. It's just a meme of me with no link to some.
We'll put like spikecohen.com or something, or whatever website you come up with. Yeah, we're doing it. So I'm glad I didn't tell Spike beforehand, because this is what I wanted to see, is that reaction. I've already planned this with other people. Like, we have a plan. Yeah. So
Oh gosh, so I can never visit Ohio again.
Oh no, we're doing it.
We'll be like, hey, you're the billboard guy, and I'm like, no.
No, we have I have a plan for Georgia because they're really cheap. We're gonna
gosh,
put you
so this is
on the back of a
nationwide?
pedal cab in Atlantic City in New Jersey. This is my present to you, Spike.
I want a pedal cab.
Yeah, you're going to be. And whoever donates the most money, we're gonna go in tiers. They get to pick the meme.
Oh God. I guess that the market has spoken.
The market has spoken.
This is the invisible hand.
Yeah. So with that said, we're going to bring on Lynn. I do want to let everyone know. I know that everyone comes here because I'm fucking hilarious and say ridiculous things and do ridiculous things, but we are going to give this topic the seriousness it deserves. So if you're just checking me out because you heard I was funny, watch last week's. Ross Ulbrichts, as many people know, has been in prison since he was 26. I believe it's been 6 or 7 years now. Yep. He's serving 2 life sentences for having an idea of a platform where the government didn't have its hand in everything. He didn't do any, he didn't sell any drugs. He didn't sell anything like that. He didn't do any of that. However, he got charged and convicted of, it's called a kingpin law. It's what El Chapo is actually, I think that was one of his convictions. And also El Chapo serving less time than Ross. But they charged him with this kingpin thing. And the judge said on record that his philosophy is the problem. Because he is a libertarian, that is the problem. And that's why one of the reasons he got such a harsh sentence. So we have his mother on, and she has been going around the country since he's been arrested and trying to tell his story, trying to get support for him. And I mean, she's a fucking badass. I'm going to try not to cuss, but I have to say fucking in front of that. She's a fucking badass. I wish she was my mom. I go to jail sometimes. It just happens. It's a part of my life. And I wish she could be my mom because I feel like I would never go to jail again. So she's just been everywhere doing this. She has been publicly asking for clemency and a pardon from former President Trump. We'll talk about that a little bit. And she just is a fucking rock star. So
when Ross is free, it will be because of the hard work of Lynn. Lynn, thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me. Great to be here with you guys.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I know that when we scheduled this was before, I believe around the time when Trump was leaving office. And I think we had the hope that we would be doing this as a celebratory show.
Absolutely. We had a lot of reason for hope. And we were told by many people who were there and in the whole White House scene that Trump was very sympathetic. It even got in the media about this, but that he was sympathetic. He was seriously considering it, that he was inclined to do it. He told that to Rand Paul. Rand Paul called him. Rand Paul had put Ross on his very short clemency list. And actually, President Trump did pardon 2. There were 3 people. He pardoned the 2 and he didn't Ross. But he told him, and then Senator Paul called him back and said, what about Ross? And he said, I'm inclined to do it. And so we were getting all this positive feedback. He said he had never gotten so many people approaching him, contacting him about anybody more than Ross. But he also said he had never been so aggressively basically pressured by the Department of Justice as much as with Ross.
That's what's so crazy about this.
Yes. And especially because not one person involved, one defendant involved in the Silk Road case has gotten more than 10 years. And Trump said, he goes, this is the craziest sentence I've ever heard. And, he was he got it. And I think he wanted to do it. And I don't know what happened, But I do know, and I was told that the White House counsel, and he did refer to them, led by Pat Cipollone, was really pushing back hard. And Pat Cipollone did something different than his predecessor, Don McGahn, in the White House counsel, in that he brought in Department of Justice prosecutors to basically vet the clemency petitions. Those people like to put people in prison. You know,
right, exactly.
bring those people in to decide if people get out of prison when they're the ones that put them in prison is messed up, and totally opposed to what it should be. And so there was obviously a lot of pushback from the Department of Justice, quote unquote. And Ross is their trophy. Ross is it would be I guess they thought it would be a repudiation of what they did. And a lot of careers were made on the Silk Road case.
Yeah,
I don't know, I'm just speculating. I do know. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think that what happened, the reason that they went after Ross as hard as they did was because they are horrified at what Silk Road is or was. They are horrified at the idea of an anonymous free marketplace that uses cryptocurrency, which is nearly untraceable or far less traceable, so that people are able to make safe, essentially gray market transactions on the internet without having to go to cartels, or without having to go out on the streets to get the things that they want. And there were also things on there that were being sold that were legal, but they weren't able to get
many things were legal. Yeah.
I think part of that, Spike, is that Bitcoin wasn't that big yet.
It was practically unknown. It was actually Silk Road was the first proof of use.
Yeah, and I think that was a big thing with the government, because they want to hold on to their fiat currency. If we have control over our own currency, then we win, and they know that. And so that mixed with not wanting to get themselves out of the drug game, because we all know the government sells the most drugs, that they combined with those two things, they had to get Ross.
Yep. This was a major threat to everything that they were doing. So, we've talked a little about, what led up to, because according to what you're saying, we were pretty close to Ross being pardoned, except the Department of Justice did something that, as far as we know, they've never done before, at least in modern times. They actually went in and threatened the president against some of his proposed people that he was picking for getting clemency or pardons, which is not how it usually works. It usually works, the president releases their list and the Department of Justice does as they're told. I've never heard of a vetting process where threats are made against the president saying, oh, no, you can't pick this person. This person's really bad. I mean, there have been presidents that have released convicted terrorists before and convicted murderers and rapists before. And my understanding is, Ross, as well as Julian Assange and possibly Edward Snowden, may have been some of the people on that short list. And the Department of Justice stepped in and said, absolutely not. I also think, and this may not be confirmed, I also think that with the potential of threats of prosecution of Trump, that was the underlying threat that was being made there, that if you do these pardons, there's more threat that, Republicans will convict you in the Senate and then will convict you without that presidential immunity in the Department of Justice.
Yeah, that was even in an article online. We were told that Ross was actually on the list back in the fall. And they said for the people on the list, no. And then ultimately, so Ross was taken off that list, but
Little Wayne made it.
No one was on the list because Flynn was the only one at that, General Flynn was the only one that they actually, who was on that list. It wasn't even a list. It was just him at Thanksgiving.
Right.
But we got that close. We got that close that Ross was on the list. The president knew who Ross was. He was sympathetic. He was not opposed. Not one time did I get feedback, because people say, oh, I talked to him or I heard, whatever, that he was opposed. And so, yeah, I don't know what happened, but, very possibly, Spike, I think that's, who knows? Yeah. But
That's
yeah.
just,
And
that's
how
weird.
Pat Cipollone, who was spoken out of Department of Justice, can essentially what he's saying is that Ross can only leave that prison as a corpse, and he thinks that's right. And it's like, how can someone be like that? We at the end. I mean, I believe Senator Paul was, saying, give him 15 years. Just something
Right.
that's not death
Yep.
in prison, because I don't even call it a life sentence anymore. It's a death sentence. That's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's what, like a 200-year sentence?
Yeah, a couple centuries.
Yeah.
For some, but no violence, no convicted violence at all, and first-time offender in his 20s.
And also a very, very sketchy case. Lynn, do you mind laying out some of the really sketchy parts of the actual conviction that happened? Because I remember when I was doing, the deep research on it to put out some of the posts and videos that I've made in the past about this, especially right before Joe and I called for Ross to be. We were actually calling for him to be pardoned, but at the very least, to get clemency. Just hearing some of the total miscarriages of justice happen. Can you kind of detail some of those?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, there were two corrupt agents. They both went to prison. One of them still in prison, who had backdoor access and basically the keys to the kingdom of the site. They could act as Dread Pirate Roberts, the administrator that Ross was accused of being, and they had passwords and keys. They could change texts and chats, and they could alter what was to be the evidence. And the jury never was allowed to know they existed. So here's these two corrupt people with total unfettered access to the site, could do anything, and the jury never knew they existed. Now,
so
that
they could have falsified.
Pardon me?
No, I was just going to say they could have falsified all of the evidence easily. Everything that was shown could have been just completely made up by these two agents. And not only did the jury not get to know that fact, they didn't even get to know who they were or that they were involved and had been convicted.
Right. Exactly. So we don't know what they did. Another interesting thing is that after trial, and the whole trial was a travesty, as far as I'm concerned. The government narrative was totally supported by the judge, and it was very one-sided. And in fact, Ross's libertarian beliefs were forbidden to be mentioned in front of the jury. Our lawyer could not mention that Ross was a libertarian. And I think that's because then they would see this is someone who has beliefs. It's a philosophy. He's not a kingpin. I really doubt El Chapo's a libertarian. Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, probably not.
And I don't think he has a book club and a, it's just, and he has half the sentence Ross got. Half.
Let's talk about that for a second. El Chapo was a mass murdering, multinational drug cartel kingpin who escaped from prison using a tunnel, and he has a less of a sentence than your son does. Who
he only has one life sentence. Ross has two.
Yeah, and that ultimately, Ross. What we know is that Ross had an idea for a website. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's the extent of what we know that he actually even did.
Yeah, I mean, he created it. I don't, but as I think I mentioned earlier, maybe we weren't on yet. The guy who programmed the Silk Road core technical infrastructure over several years, who made it happen, he was recently arrested. He just got 8 months. That's what he got, 8 months. Ross was never trained as a programmer. He couldn't have done that. He was the idea guy, and his idea was a free market that was private, that was based on the non-aggression principle, that people should be able to buy and sell as they chose within limits because it couldn't hurt a third party. So, for example, no child pornography was permitted because it's a child. No stolen property was permitted because that hurts the owner who was stolen from, etc. Mm-hmm. There were ethics, there were boundaries here, and according to Curtis Green, who is also the supposed victim of the murder setup and all that, who's a Ross supporter, he said that they would spend hours regularly purging the site of anyone who was breaking those rules. They took them very seriously. So that is what he set up.
So basically, they convicted the idea, but the actual action, they're just like, slap on the wrist.
Well, I mean, there's a lot more drugs sold on Facebook and Craigslist than there ever were on Silk Road. That was in front of Congress.
Spike brought that up on Kennedy.
Yeah, when I was on Kennedy, I said, if we're going to apply this consistently and say, oh, okay, you are legally responsible for something that is sold on a website that you were a part of creating, first of all, that throws Section 230 out the window. Exactly. But second of all, Mark Zuckerberg, Jack Dorsey, the owners of Alphabet, the parent company of Google and YouTube and all of that, the owners of TikTok, the owners of Instagram, the owners of any of the Snapchat, all of these OnlyFans, any of these sites are now criminally responsible for all of these things. And the only reason that they did it to Ross was because he didn't go through the government approved channels. That's my theory. I don't know this for certain, but they wanted to make an example because, like you and Kryssi have said, he wasn't using fiat currency. He was making a private decentralized system that they couldn't try to break up. It would be very hard to rate it. And it was basically going to mess up, what Big Pharma was doing. It was going to mess up what the government sponsored cartels are doing. And they weren't going to have any of that. And it's terrible. Just so I understand, not only was Ross a libertarian, he's a pacifist, correct?
Well, right. That's the whole non-aggression principle. And also, yeah, I mean, and he agrees with not having wars. It's all part of being a libertarian, really. But absolutely, he's totally nonviolent. I mean, it's such a ridiculous joke to think.
I know you've on Silk Road.
Anyone, he's the sweetest, gentlest, nicest guy. I mean, and I know him his mother and everything, but he really is.
Of course, yeah.
No, he really is. I mean, 100 letters on our website from people who know him, not me.
Well, I read them. I read a lot of them. Yeah.
I mean, and one after the other after the other. So, and he's so, he's working right now. He's got it up online. It's a thing called ZCAN. It's about how there's a problem with privacy, and WhatsApp allows bad actors and pedophiles and people like that to hide behind the privacy. And Ross is developing an idea where we can still have our privacy, but those people do not get to do that. And it's very technical. I can't even understand it. But he ran it by experts. They said it has promise, but of course he can't develop it because he's in prison. He can't get on the website, internet.
He's in prison right now.
What he's trying to do is help people, to protect people. Yeah. And that
he's in prison. No, go ahead.
I just want to say that's what was behind Silk Road. It was, the intentions were good. Now, there's lots of arguments and everything, and I'm not, but it's like the intentions were idealistic. They were good. It was to help people. And, he was 26 and he was, so he's 26 years old, idealistic libertarian, totally into, all of that. He's now about to be 37. And he hasn't been on the internet for 8 years. I really don't think he's going to go be a problem.
Well, a big thing with Silk Road that a lot of people don't talk about, they'll mention, people died from drugs that they were sold. How about the people saved? Because Silk Road was one of the first places I've ever seen test strips being sold, where it was encouraged to buy strips where you could test your drugs and make sure that it is what you were getting. I saw that all of the time. It's still on all of the markets. That's harm reduction. I mean, obviously you're not going to solve the drug war by just making it all illegal, but we can reduce the harm. And with people doing the test strips and being able to see what they're taking instead of, the stuff that's laced with fentanyl or stuff that's laced with anything, they're able to see. So I wonder how many lives he saved with that website.
I would imagine quite a few. And that was the idea behind it is harm reduction in fact, when I was doing my research, there was actually a drug, a pro-drug decriminalization group, a drug policy group. In fact, I think it's called the Drug Policy Alliance or something like that. And where they said, Yeah, and they said that they were giving the data and estimating the number of people whose lives had been saved, not just from being spared of overdoses or bad a bad batch of whatever they were buying and consuming, but also not being exposed to street drug violence. Being to competing drug gangs fighting over turf. The reduction in the amount of commerce that was going into that model, and instead just being brought to them. To their doorstep or being mailed to them or to a PO box or whatever. It's very sad, and it is the more that I have heard about Ross, and then to hear what he's doing in prison. He's doing what he's doing, some kind of, is it a book club or prayer ministry or something like that in prison as well?
Well, let me just say one thing about what you just said before we move on. Really, the idea was to have a free market that people could choose as long as they didn't hurt a third party. It was kind of product agnostic. It wasn't about drugs specifically. Yeah. It did attract a lot of drug exchanges, obviously, because of the anonymity. But it was really a more philosophical, this is what, let's see what happens within these boundaries. So, I know it's always called a drug site because it was mostly cannabis. I mean, that was determined by Carnegie Mellon. In a study they did, it was overwhelming amount of what was sold there was small amounts of cannabis. And of course,
honestly, if you're getting drugs off of the street, it's probably hard for them to figure out you have to buy Bitcoin, you have to download the Tor browser, you have to get
Bitcoin.
That's not easy for just your run-of-the-mill severe heroin addict.
Exactly.
It's hard for me, and I think I'm a little smart, and it's hard for me to figure this stuff out.
Yeah, and it's not like it was so accessible, and you did have to do all of that. Yeah,
and it was harder back then. We're talking like almost a decade. We're talking a decade ago now. So it was much harder to use cryptocurrency than it even is now. So we've talked about what led up to this case and the difficulty that's going on with what happened with the fact that we were probably this close to Ross being free, and I can't imagine how frustrating and infuriating that must be to you. But here we are. We now have a new president, and I think, and you can tell me what you think about this. We've heard a lot from this new president, from President Biden, that he wants unity, that he wants to bring people together, and that he wants to try to heal the damage of the past. And I can't think offhand of a single action he could take in the life of one person that would be more demonstrating of unity and of healing from the wrongs of the past than to free Ross. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I agree. Ross is the poster boy, first of all, for excessive sentencing. And I know, or what I understand, is that the new administration is very interested in criminal justice reform and fixing this very broken system that it's really weaponized against our citizenry. I mean, the criminal justice reform is terrifying. And I think that would be true. And also the huge number of libertarians and tech people there'd be so much goodwill from them. I think that would also be a huge gain.
Of course.
I mean, showing mercy in this situation, I think would definitely be a huge step for a lot of people to feel, okay, this is some compassion, and it's all good. I agree.
So with that in mind, I actually Googled, and this is true, you can run for president from prison. If Biden doesn't do this in the next 4 years, I think Ross should run for president, because even if he doesn't win and can't pardon himself, it'll give so much attention to it. And I think President Ross sounds great, and he'll be old enough. So
hey,
that's right. He'll be old enough. Yeah, he'll be old enough to run.
I mean, at this point, what more do you do? And like you said, I know they have said that they're focused on criminal justice reform, and I haven't heard of a single person that's a nonviolent person that's been given any of this kind of sentence that Ross is getting. But
I don't know if there is. I don't know of a longer sentence.
No.
The other thing is that drug laws are probably going to keep changing. And already we see that Bitcoin was considered a threat then, or a weird, dark thing. Now Bitcoin's mainstream and very expensive. And the same thing with drug legalization or decriminalization. And so I think that would, somebody said there'll be a delegate.
Yeah, you can run for the Liberal Party.
I'll have to tell him. He'll get a kick out of it. But anyway, times are changing, and I think, that's going to hopefully would be part of it as well. That I think.
I hope so.
Oh God, yeah. I mean,
so before all of this happened, before that horrible day, I've actually seen you talk about how you found out, which was the day after from a news article, which is just
Reuters reporter called me.
Oh,
actually, Ross's dad picked it up.
That's ridiculous. Have you ever been even political before? Have you?
I kind of, I the test where it says, "Are you a libertarian?" I came out pretty libertarian, to be honest. But, so maybe this is all my fault. I did give him Alice Schwab. But I mean, his dad and I are entrepreneurs. We're just kind of leave us alone kind of people. So there's that kind of thing, and not super political or anything like that. No.
So you weren't political. You were anti-political. You just wanted to be able to grow your enterprise of what you were doing, and you wanted the government to stay out of it so you could peacefully associate with other people. And then your son, your poor son, grows up thinking, "Hey, that makes perfect sense to me. I don't see why anyone should be telling us what to do and not letting us be in peaceful commerce with one another." It is really, it can't and as his mother, obviously, anything you say about Ross is going to be taken with a grain of salt by people because you're his mother. I'm not his mother. I've never met the man. Everything I have heard about him that is actually true and verifiable is that this is one of the most kind and gentle and caring and peaceful and desiring to create a positive impact around him person that has ever existed. And, the fact that even in prison, he is still trying to positively affect the lives of others. Even knowing that there's a possibility that he may never come out of prison, he still wants to help others. I can't think of. I mean, I get bitter with society if I get a speeding ticket when I wasn't speeding. So I can't imagine how bitter one could become from being put in prison for basically the rest of their life for, being the idea man behind a peaceful website and then having your reputation ruined by, and we can talk about the absurd hitman for hire allegations, which are stupid and I don't even like bringing up, but to go through all of that, and yet he still wants to help everyone around him, despite what has happened to him.
He's so amazing. I've talked to him. I finally got to talk to him. I hadn't talked to him since October, and got to talk to him. And also I got some letters, and it's all about how he's trying to encourage me. He doesn't want me. He's worried about me.
Worried about you.
Nothing about. He's like, I'll be okay. I'm gonna, keep my eyes on, God and meditate and pray and keep my mind right and do what I can to help people. And that's who he is. And there were times when we'd be visiting and I'd be saying some things about the judge. Okay. And he'd be like, "Nope, not going to go there. We are not going to be," it's just, he's consciously determined not to be bitter. And he's written about it. He has an essay called "The 5 Keys of Inner Strength I Learned in 5 Years in Prison." And it's on Medium, and it's also on our website. And it's really inspired me because he talks about a lot, actually, even now, he talks about gratitude and about you can find things to be grateful for, even in his situation, sitting in an 8x10 metal box since March. So he just really is inspiring. I mean, I'm kind of like, wow. And
you gave him the libertarian bug. He gave you the inspiring bug because you inspire me a lot. Watching you do this is, I mean, I get like, wow, look at that awesome woman go. And then at the same time, I'm like, I'm sad that I've had to watch her go for this long. Like, it's just, you're doing everything you can. So, you know, how are you? How are you doing all this?
Well, it is, I mean, I do have faith. I take it one day at a time. I do believe there's divine intervention involved in this because too many things have happened. Too many doors have been opened. I think there's a reason. And I'm right now, to be honest, I'm kind of walking wounded, to be honest. This has been a big blow. We were so, I don't know, I didn't want to get overly optimistic, but I was optimistic. I really was. And to be honest, it's kind of the feeling you get when somebody dies. Not that Ross is dead, but it's that same kind of thing. Yeah, you wake up in the morning and the shock is still, and you're, oh God, that's real, you know, kind of thing. And as time goes by, you know, it comes in waves, and no, it's really, and I've been working so hard for 8 years, well, you know, getting to courts 8 years now. And it's like, oh my God, I really thought I was going to do something else. Not necessarily, I mean, actually, I was having ideas about criminal justice reform, but apparently, you know, but I will keep going. First of all, I vowed to Ross I would never desert him. That was way in the, and I keep my word. But also, how could I not? I can't let him just rot there and die there without fighting with everything I have for as long as I can. It's just the way it is. And with good friends like you guys and others, you know, that's what's really kept me going, is so many people wanting to help and seeing the injustice and, you know, and just keep going. And it's really not just for Ross. I mean, he's not unique in our system. Our system, I think someone just put up a comment about how many nonviolent people. I mean, there's so many serving life. And the thing is, what I was thinking I really wanted to do was something about how the law needs to be changed, that people who are nonviolent should not be condemned to die in a cage.
Yep.
Sorry, this is barbaric. And there's something like, let me think, I can't remember the statistics. My mind is mush right now, but it's thousands and thousands of nonviolent people serving life sentences.
I think the number was like 3,278. So there's over 3,000 people who, unless without some intervention by someone or some statutory change, they're going to spend the rest of their life in prison, and they didn't hurt anyone, and that is mind-boggling.
Yeah, no physical. They're not a threat.
They're not a threat to anyone. Exactly. Yeah. There's no reason that they're going to get
protected from Ross. I can guarantee you that. Or many of these people. I was so glad to see one of Ross's friends. He was in a very violent prison before he got moved to Tucson, thank God. And, you know, it's still prison, but it's where it's not violent. And the reason he was moved there is he refused to assault another inmate that he was being pressured to do. And this happens in prisons where, you know, and he wouldn't do it. And he put himself in protective custody. And then ultimately, we had to intervene. Well, friends of Ross, people supported and had connections. And actually, Rand Paul being one of them, called the Bureau of Prisons. They're like, you can't put him back in the population. He'll be killed. And so, because if you refuse, you're in danger. Anyway, luckily, he got sent to Tucson, and I moved here to be near him. But anyway, oh God, I've lost my train of thought. There was a reason behind this. Oh goodness. Anyway, God, I can't remember what I was going to say.
You were talking about how many people are in prison for.
Oh yeah, this is good. So a friend of his, Tony, who had kind of taken Ross under his wing up there, he had been in there like 15 years for marijuana in Colorado, where it's legal. And Tony, but it was a federal crime that Tony committed rather than state. So he's sitting there in Colorado for marijuana for 15 years. But he had a life sentence because it was his third strike, which is part of the 1994 crime bill. And so he got clemency. He got commuted on this last round. And his mother wrote me. I'd been trying to help her a bit, and I'm very happy for him. And another guy that Ross knows as well. So you're just so happy for people because it's like a second chance at life. And Ross needs a second chance.
Yes.
He would use it well. He's not like you read about these people that get out and they go do some horrible thing. Ross is not going to do that. He's going to be a benefit to the community and society. Absolutely.
He's trying to be a benefit to the community and society right now while he's still in prison. Imagine what he could do outside of prison. It's just
better because he can have resources
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can be hard on him the whole time. Be like, you have to do all these great things. You know how hard I worked. Like,
oh no, I said to him, you need to take care of me when you get out. And he goes, I will be your slave. And I said, that was the right answer, Ross. I like that answer. And don't forget.
Ross gets out and he's taking a nap on the couch, and you bust into his house and you go, no, I got you out. You have to get up and start doing so. You can't be lazy.
He'll be a great man. Oh no, yeah, and also get to work. No, he'll be all inspired. He is now, like you say.
Oh, I know.
That's who he is. That's just who he is. And I'm hopeful. I'm actually not. I'm just exhausted, to be honest. It's just like
I'm sure.
And I'm recovering from the shock, and then you go into despair, and then you go into hope, and it's all these stages of grief, really. But I'll get through it and keep pushing because, and I think there's hope. I do. And we have a petition. It's not a sure thing, but we're almost to 400,000 people, and hoping to get to 500,000, and that says something. That represents a lot of people, and it's a good tool to say to legislators and others, say, here's all these people would be very happy with you if you did this. So please, if you haven't, anybody out there, please sign the petition. It's on freeross.org. Yeah.
Link everywhere, freeross.org. It's useful at least so people, other people that you talk to can see how much support he has. I find it interesting that they probably put him in prison to deter people from doing this. Now we have like 100 and something, cryptocurrencies. We have, there's probably 20 markets I can get to right now. How come those people aren't how come it's only Ross? And why not give him the pardon? Because clearly it didn't work. They didn't deter anyone.
Well, the day after sentencing, it was supposed to be a deterrent. It was a spike in darknet markets all over the place. But also, like you say, it's only Ross. The biggest drug seller is already out. He's free. The biggest drug seller on Silk Road, he ended up serving 7 years. Another couple of huge drug sellers, 5 years, 3 years. The two corrupt agents, 6 years. The other one's, I think, I got 7. He's still in for another 10 months. The person who took over the site, but it was a copycat site, Silk Road 2.
Silk Road 2,
yeah, said was identical, except bigger. He never did any time. Well, 13 days, if that counts. He's out. He's been out the whole time. And this, like I was saying, the programmer who did the whole technical infrastructure, he just got 8 months. 8 months in the Southern District, which convicted Ross. It's like the disparity is actually illegal. There's a Sentencing Reform Act that insists, that requires that similar crimes get similar sentences for this exact reason. And nobody seems to care about it. This is ridiculous. And I'm not saying I want all these people in prison. What I'm saying is let's have some fair treatment.
No, he should be out too. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I'm not upset that these people are only getting a few years, except for those corrupt agents. They probably should have done much more time. Everyone else, I'd rather they have not gone to jail at all. We're talking drug crimes here. That's mine and I'm sure Kryssy's opinion as well. But that's not the point. Ross, this isn't about, other people should be in jail. It's Ross should have gotten that same treatment or even less harsh treatment. He should have been talking about how unfair this was a couple years later after he got out. Like this is absolutely absurd. And Lynn, I know that you get tired, and I can only imagine how lonely this must feel at times. But I think you do know this, but I want to make sure you do know this. You and Ross are dearly, dearly loved and supported by countless thousands of people, many of whom you may never even meet. who are working hard to get Ross free. I am with you. I believe Ross will be free. And I believe that every bad thing that has happened for a reason. That one day when Ross is out, that the things that happen to him and his ability to be able to talk about it are going to lead to major reforms in criminal justice and against the war on drugs that will lead to many more people not having to suffer the kind of fate that Ross did. I strongly, strongly believe that. I don't think that things happen for no reason. And I think that this will ultimately, this is going to be, biblically, it talks about the years that the locusts have eaten away. I believe that when he gets out, I believe that some amazing things are going to happen. And I know that you are fighting and keeping strong on this. And I just want you to know you're not the only one. We are out here and we are not going to rest until Ross is free.
Oh, thank you. That really means a lot. Sorry, it really does. And yeah, and like I say, there's so many people who have walked beside us and so appreciate you, Spike, speaking out, and Kryssi having me on and everything. It's just because I got to keep, you got to keep, people forget people in prison. They just forget them. They're buried alive. They're buried alive. And that's one of the things I want to make sure doesn't happen. And you're right. I mean, Ross has already written about good ways to reform prisons, and he's already, he wants to work for criminal justice reform. It's badly needed. And he actually did an interesting essay where he took a survey in the prison saying, if you had to choose between staying in here for decades and decades or being physically tortured for a short time, flogged, or, all the old ways that people would be tortured. Every single one of these people said physically tortured and get out. Every one of them, because it is torture. What they're doing is torture.
This is a man.
I've only been to jail. I think the longest I've been in jail is 4 days. Mind you, I don't do anything like crazy. I do a lot of activism, and I go to jail for that. And I smoke weed and have gone to jail for that a couple times. So I'm not like some like crazy robber or anything. But I've been to jail a few times, and it doesn't feel like it's only been a day or it's only been an hour. It feels like it's forever. It feels like you'll never leave. You don't have autonomy over your own body. You have people staring at you that you have to listen to them or else you're there longer. And it's so, I mean, I was there, like I said, the longest was 4 days. And I was thinking of ways I was like, this is it. Like I'm going to have to kill myself because I can't do this. And
a lot of people do, by the way. There's a huge suicide rate in prisons.
Oh, absolutely.
I can't even imagine.
Imagine him being able to stay so positive, but it makes sense that they would rather be tortured. I would rather be tortured for a day than go to jail for 4 days. And they're looking at life. I couldn't imagine.
Or even decades, or you take a big chunk of time out of somebody's life, and it's very rough. And this is not American. This did not happen before the drug war.
No.
Didn't get life sentences at the drop of a hat. His judge, Catherine Forrest, he was her fifth life sentence that year, and it was only May. She's a hanging judge. This is happening all the time. These excessive sentences, they're insane. And this didn't happen before, basically prosecutors took over the courts and they became so aggressive. And of course, I think there's a lot of financial motivation. Huge industry, right? And in my mind, if you're making money off of human beings, you're involved in human trafficking. That's what you're doing.
Oh, it's absolutely slavery. I mean, we've all seen the stories of the billions of dollars that is being made off of hard prison labor. The fact that, the 13th Amendment, which supposedly ended slavery, straight up says at the end of it, well, the government can still do it if someone's convicted of a crime. It doesn't say violent crime. It doesn't say only murderers and rapists. It says if you've been convicted of a crime, then you go to jail. And you have many states, and I know that Ross is convicted at the federal level, but there are some states that have a minimum number of their residents that are required by their contracts to be in jail at any period of time, which means if crime rate goes down, they've got to create more laws to put more people in jail. It is a huge racket. It is a huge racket.
Oh, yeah. I've seen a thing where private prisons were calling out to their community, hey, you better get us some people or we're going to have to close and you're going to be out of job. Do you know that prosecutors and judges invest in private prisons on Wall Street? Now, there's a little bit of a, conflict of interest there.
Of course.
And I'm not absolving the public prisons. It's all a whole crony thing because I can't build a prison and say, hey, come to my prison. It's not like it's a free market thing at all. It's all, there's tons of money everywhere at so many levels. It's just, it's a really bad and evil thing that's happening, and it's metastasizing. I think since the drug war, the population of the prisons has metastasized 800%. And if the prison population were a state, it's bigger than 11 states. There are 11 states smaller in the United States than the prison population, essentially.
One out of every 4 human beings in a prison is in an American prison.
Oh my God, that's horrible.
Or 1 out of 5. It's either 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 5. It is staggering, and we make up 5% of the world's population, give or take, and about actually less than 5% of the world's population, and over 25%. Yeah, it is 1 out of 4. Less than 1 out of 4 of every or 1 out of every 3 point whatever people that are in prison are in an American prison. And
that's a national disgrace. Frankly,
it's absolutely. We have no business.
Human emergency. It's horrible. Yeah, absolutely. And I've gone to the prison a lot. I mean, I've been to a lot of prisons. And the other toll it takes is on the families and the children. And you see these kids, and they're so excited to see their dad. Their "I love my dad" T-shirt. And they happen to be dads mostly because it's prison. And they're climbing all over them and hugging them and soaking up their dad. And then they're shattered when they have to leave. It's like they're just, you can just see how they're being so harmed by this. And one mom was saying, yeah, before this happened, my kids were getting straight A's. We were good. And now everything's falling apart. And statistically, there's over 2 million. I think it's 2.9 million children of incarcerated parents. And they are statistically much more likely to end up in the prison too. So they have a flow of inventory, guaranteed inventory. Just keep that hideous cycle going. And it's just, and I didn't know any of this before I got, catapulted into it. But it's absolutely, people need to understand what's going on, because it's really wrong, and it's against our values, our American values, our Christian values if you're a Christian, just humanitarian values.
We have no business calling ourselves the land of the free with this kind of system in place, where millions of people are being put in cages, and then the ones that are let out are stuck with these records that follow them the rest of their lives, and they have difficulty getting, jobs, and they often end up back in prison, which is why the recidivism rate is so high. Not to mention,
they have to sell drugs to survive, because they can't get a job.
Sell drugs to survive because they can't get a real job. Exactly, they can't get a business license, they can't get a real job. They have to either work retail and make next to nothing, or start selling drugs again, because it's the only thing they know, because they spend all their life in prison. And then their children and their spouses or loved ones, their family members, it is massive harm and trauma that's being done to generate revenue for governments and the crony billionaires that put them in office. And it's just, I am sorry that Ross got caught up in this. And I know it is no comfort that there are others that are also going through this, but it is an absolutely absurd thing. It needs to end. And I truly believe that when Ross is free, not if, but when Ross is free, he is going to be the single greatest, probably with you in close second, the single greatest champion to end these things, not just through advocacy, but with actual real world solutions that he is already working on to implement and to be able to actually fix these problems. I think Ross, we're joking, he could end up being president.
I'm not joking.
I'm not joking. I work for the government, but anyway. He does have great things to contribute, and he's very passionate about, because you have anybody who's gone to prison knows, and you meet then it's real, and you see the damage, and you see the terrible harm that's being done. And it's just, like I say, it wasn't before the drug war. The drug war brought all this in, and it's also shredding the Constitution. Our rights are just being shredded with, because it's a drug exception. If it's a drug thing, well, we've got that exception, and, civil asset forfeiture, et cetera, all these different things. Yeah. And it's all around, and it doesn't work. That's the other basic bottom line. I believe people are still doing drugs. Pretty sure.
I am right now. So
here's the testimonial right here in front of us.
Ross has given us already so much, because when he gets out and he ends the drug war by showing everyone how stupid this is, he helped us already get cryptocurrency. I mean, he could end the drug war. What else? I mean, what else can we make him do? Like,
that's what I want. Make me a grandmother.
Oh,
Cares about that other stuff. I want a grandchild.
I am sure that there is no shortage of women who would be more than happy to help him in that venture. Although did he have I'm trying to remember now. Did he have a girlfriend or fiance or something?
He actually has a fiance who's worked very, very hard and is very devoted. So, yeah,
that's good.
Yeah,
well,
it is. It's,
So after he's finished making you a grandmother, then we need him to get to work. He can't be lazy once he's out. He's got to get to work on ending the war on drugs and ending the Fed and making crypto the standard currency. Like, he's got to do all the stuff, right? Like, if we're getting him out, it's a quid pro quo. If we're helping him get out, he's got to fix humanity. But I think he's going to do it. I think he's going to be one of the main people to do it. And we just have to get him out. And, my message to this administration is, if you want to prove that you want to have unity and healing in the wake of all the discord that's happening in this country right now, if you want to prove that it is false that you are seeing libertarians as terrorists, then what better way to do that? What better way to prove that you see libertarians for who they are, as peaceful people? And what better way to prove that you want to bring healing and unity to this country that's facing so much divisiveness right now, than by freeing someone who everyone that hears the story is unified behind freeing, and who would demonstrate that you recognize that libertarians are not terrorists, that we are not a threat, that we only want to have a free and peaceful world.
Yeah, sign a piece of paper.
Just sign the paper. Yep.
And that's what I remind myself: people and paperwork. It's not, we can do this. It's like, it's people and paperwork. We almost did it. We almost did it. Yep. And this is an opportunity, I think, for the new administration to show that they want reform, that they have evolved to be more aware of the reform that needs to happen. And yeah, agreed. And I think, just in general, I was hoping that President Trump would be the pardon president and do thousands. And, that didn't happen, but President Biden could.
Absolutely.
And, especially nonviolent people serving these abysmally long. It's a death sentence. It's not even, I don't even call it a life sentence. It's a death sentence. That's what it is. You can call it a walking death sentence, but sorry. Where's my phone?
Actually, a lot of it, again,
it's my alarm to remind me to visualize when it's free. That's what that was.
You're totally fine. You're totally fine.
That's fine.
Well, that's what I have, an alarm, and I'm like, okay, I got to remember and people across the world are at the same time doing that, which is 7 Mountain Time. But people are all, on a spiritual level, visualizing and praying. That was my alarm.
Okay, let's take a second.
Let's do that. Let's do it then. Yeah.
Just visualize him walking out those doors and into our arms and just rejoicing. Yeah.
Making Lynn a grandmother.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try not to visualize that part, but I visualize everything up until that point. I'll visualize, yeah.
I
mean, I know that we all, I couldn't imagine anyone else I would rather go to jail for again, I really hate jail. I would go to jail for a year to get Ross out. I would do that. And I know a lot of other people feel like they would do that. That wouldn't work though. That doesn't work. So what can people do? Yeah. What more can we do? I know that people are signing the petition. I know we should probably donate some money because this lawyer shit and all that is expensive. Him, the stuff you're doing is expensive.
Ridiculous. Well, I would say even more important than that is if anyone has any, and I've asked this throughout the whole time, any political connections. That's a lot of this now that we're out of the courts, essentially, is about people and networking and getting to, have people understand what's going on here so that they can go, wow, okay, this is wrong. And I'll talk. And social media is a big part of that, and also just person to person, networking connections. And that was true. That's just the way it is when you're in this political realm, which is, what we're in.
It's who you know. Well, hopefully, I think Spike is on a trajectory to be someone important, hopefully. Like, please, Spike, you need to be important. We need you for this.
For no other reason, everyone has to make me important now. You have to.
So you have to be important so you can meet important people and who are more important than you. And we can get this man out. Like,
and along with him, so many others, really. It's
of course. Obviously. Ross is like you said, Ross is the poster child, but he is far from being the only victim here. Oh. He is just such an extreme example of it, possibly the most, or certainly one of the most extreme examples. But there are countless people that are victims of the war on drugs, victims on the war on victimless crimes, people that have just been so disparate. Even if they did have a crime that had a victim, the punishment that they got was so completely out of the stratosphere of what they should have even been considered for. The idea of putting people in cages that are not a threat to others just so that it benefits this, prison industrial complex cottage industry that's been built around it is just disgusting. And if we want to have healing, if we want to have unity, if we want to call ourselves the land of the free, then we need to set Ross and many, many other people free. And so I guess I have to become famous to make this happen. Listen, the more prominent any prominent level of media I've gotten, any opportunity I've had, I've talked about freeing Ross and freeing the victims of the war on victimless crimes, because there's no, when I think of the harm that's being done, that one of the first things I think of are people that are in cages that didn't hurt anyone. There's no greater example of, just the amount of harm that can be done by an out of control government than people that didn't hurt anyone, that are trying to help others and go to prison in some cases for the rest of their lives for it. So we absolutely, we will not rest until Ross is out.
Thank you. And the thing is, oh God, I went blank again. I did have a point, Spike. I'm not at my most, but yeah, absolutely. It's again, we should have values of mercy and redemption for people who are not a threat to anyone, to let them redeem themselves, to, however you want to look at it. It's like, give people a second chance, damn it. It's like it's so wrong. I mean, Ross is not the same person, young, kind of very, very idealistic. He's still idealistic, but he's a more mature version. I mean, he's matured a lot being in prison, almost 37 years old next month. And can you imagine a life sentence when you're 50 something and you're still being kept for something you did in your 20s and you would never? I mean, it's just, and it's an abuse of government power to give someone that sentence. That sentence is evil thing to do. And
why is there even
I can't imagine being her and going to sleep at night, frankly.
Why is there such a thing as 2 life sentences plus 40 years? Like, that doesn't even make sense. Why does that exist?
I guess, if he lives to be 200, he'll have to spend. I don't know. It's ridiculous, but I'm sure there's some legal reason.
It's if they're able to get him clemency or prove that he didn't do one of the things, they can still put him in jail for the rest of his life. The other thing, it's vindictive, Kryssi. It's we're going to make sure you never get out unless basically a president pardons you. You're going to spend the rest of your life in prison. Period. And die
there and leave as a corpse.
Yeah.
Bottom line. She did say, you brought this up, Kryssi, that she did say, we know you started the site for philosophical reasons, and I'm just not sure that's a philosophy you've left behind. I find it a troubling and dangerous philosophy. So you have to die.
You have to die.
That's where you will die. That's what she said, essentially.
Yep.
So basically,
think about how dangerous that is to all of us. Think of what peril it puts us all in, that we can all be put in a cage for our philosophy and die
for a thought crime.
In America.
Essentially, in America.
Yep. So basically what we all need to do is, after we crowdfund for the Spike meme billboards, we need to crowdfund for glitter bombs and gummy bag of dicks to send this judge. We'll do it the non-aggression.
No. Hello, I'm not involved in what she just said.
Lynn is not involved. She has told us no.
This is this is a Kryssi thing. We are not. I'm not involved in the meme billboard, and Lynn's not involved in the cyberbullying the judge. What we're proposing is, instead of giving to the meme billboard,
don't do that. Anyway, go ahead.
Go to freeross.org, and if you're able to give, then give. Share it with everyone that you possibly can. Share this video so other people can hear about the atrocities that Ross has gone through and Lynn has gone through, and sign the petition and let as many people as you can know about this terrible thing. And if you know, write your congressperson, write your senator, try to get this, this is a federal level thing. So your governor's not going to be able to help, your state rep's not going to be. Now, if you know someone that might have a connection to someone else, then that would be one thing.
You never know what would lead to something else, right?
Right.
And yeah, absolutely. All of that, and help us on social media, follow us and defend. I mean, there's a lot of people, there's trolls out there and everything, but we've done a lot to change the narrative that the government put forward. Never proved, never convicted, none of that. They just say it, and media loves it because it's so sensationalistic. So, help us fight that. And there's lots of ways to help. And it doesn't have to be, I know a lot of people don't have a lot of money. It doesn't have to be money. It can be, of course, but it's like, a lot of it is very grassroots, and, we need help on all levels. And we have a take action page on our website on freeross.org with some ideas, but you may have better ideas than that. People have come up with,
like Ross running for president.
He put a, pardon me?
Like Ross running for president.
Oh yeah, that one we have not, I haven't thought of that one. But a billboard in Times Square, and there's a billboard in Times Square, Free Ross.
That's amazing. And now he's on Twitter, right? Ross is on Twitter, I see.
He has been for a while. What it was he was so frustrated. He goes, all these people are saying things about me. It's not who I am. I want to be able to have a voice, And so, and you can really get a sense of who Ross is from that Twitter feed.
Yeah.
You really can. And his personality. It's not political. It's not, he didn't get into all that or his case and stuff. It's more personal. And it's really, you can really get a sense of him. And you can just read that and go, does this guy really need to be in a maximum security prison?
Exactly.
It's a maximum. He's been in maximum. And
when I read
gangs and brutal beatings and murders and all kinds of stuff, he survived that.
When I read what Ross writes, I think, why isn't this man in a think tank coming up with solutions to the problems that we're facing? Like that, yes, why is he in prison? But I'm thinking, why is he not one of the thought leaders that is being tapped by, our political leaders to talk about how to fix the problems that we're facing? And that's where we want him to be. And so, then obviously freeross.org. Follow all the Free Ross on social media, follow Ross on his Twitter, and get the word out there. If you're able to give, then give, call and write your congressperson and your senator, sign the petition, do what you can to be able to get the message out there. You can get
a hold of us on the website. There's a footer, just email, we see everything. So if you have an idea or you have a connection or you have
Yeah, so definitely everyone needs to meet important people. We have to leave our basements and we have to go meet important people. This is more than us now. We need important people.
Yep, exactly.
So, well, thank you so much, Lynn, for coming on here. Do you have any other, anything else you want to say before we go? Any last words?
Well, I guess I've just said it all along for years, is that I think we're at a crossroads in history. And there's a lot of very important things about our freedoms that need to be, we have to decide. We have to decide who we want to be as a country. And I think one of those decisions is how we're going to sentence people and what we've been talking about, and keeping them cruelly confined. And in fact, it's a violation of the 8th Amendment, which prohibits cruel and unusual punishment. I can tell you, double life sentence is cruel and unusual punishment. Yes. So, yeah. And so this is a fundamental American thing. And yeah, that's about it. You know, we have to make these decisions. Who are we going to be?
Yeah. When our great grandchildren are reading their history books, what do we want them to read?
Yeah,
Exactly.
we're the country that imprisons more of our population than anyone else in the world.
Well, you are, again, just so inspiring. I hope to be half the mom you are. Well, I hope my son doesn't become a victim.
Yeah, don't have him build a website, okay? I mean, don't have him do a free market. No,
I will not. Actually, he wants to do computer stuff. I'm going to just go ahead and tell him.
Yeah, don't hear that.
If I could be half the mom you are, I mean, showing all the dedication, I mean, half the human you are, because you're still helping other people at the same time. I mean, that would make me even better than I am if I could just be half that. So you are just so inspiring. And you have, again, so many people behind you and behind Ross. And we need to hashtag make Lynn a grandma, because you need to get that to another generation.
Yeah, thank you. So grateful to both of you. Really, really, really am. Really appreciate it so much.
All right. I'm glad we got to participate in the visualizing of Ross coming out. I'm going to do that. I'm going to set my alarm.
That was cool.
Yeah. That was cool. That was cool.
I'm going to set my alarm, and I'm going to talk about it and have other people set their alarm, because we're trying everything. We're past the usual avenues. We're going to try everything. Tell Ross he's going to be president. He doesn't have a choice. I will literally just sign his name up.
I don't think he will be, but maybe
we're trying everything. But again,
we're trying everything we can.
Yeah, right.
Thank you so much for coming out here and telling his story.
Yeah, great to see you both. It's really fun.
All right, everyone. You got anything else to say, Spike? Spike said, send money for meme billboards.